this is the first time in my life really that I'm in like a sort of healthy relationship.
Good for you.
And I'm having like, consistent sort of, healthy sex.
Yes,
so I'm like, I haven't really delved into like that. A lot of my sexual experiences has been with prostitutes. So I never,
interesting.
It's never really, I lost my virginity to a prostitute. So I've never really, it's sort of an in and out situation. There's not a lot of like, hey, what's going on?
Well, you're not, and who knows what she's experienced. It could all be just for show.
Yes, I don't know how much of her, she's not going to get, I don't know, this is not a place to delve into real answers and stuff like that, really.
There's a couple things. I don't want you to out yourself or anybody else, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about.
Where do you go in Los Angeles? Do you go to, does there prostitution rings in Los Angeles?
So at the time, when I first got there was the Backpage.
Of the LA Weekly or something?
No, it was called Backpage.com, and they had like an escort section.
I see. And is that, I mean, do you risk legal? How do people do that?
So it's really scary. So this is like, because you think about like people like cops or people trying to.
You would think the Vice Squad would be there trying to get you.
Right. So my plan was, and this maybe this sounds fucked up, but I would always go for like the bigger, more unattractive women. Because in my mind, even a cop setting up a sting wouldn't be so vain, would also be vain and try to still be a hot woman.
Well, not only that, they wouldn't they wouldn't go that direction. They go more towards entrapment. They wouldn't go for the one that had the low probability of trapping somebody.
Right, absolutely.
I see.
So I always play, and then one of the girls I met off there, she actually gave me like sort of just tips and tricks to be like, just be aware of what kind of motel that the person, like she was really, her name was Susan. That was her fake name, but she was really great. So Susan, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. Thank you for helping me. Not get arrested.
He also called you not very attractive, so I apologize at the same time.
I mean, I think Susan knows.
Okay, she knows. Okay, fair enough.
And then after that got taken down, it was a lot of like massage parlors. And Los Angeles has massage parlors everywhere. But there was like 3 in walking distance from my apartment.
So isn't that, what part of town were you in?
North Hollywood, like in the Arts District. I was in a nice place.
And so is that reach around or sort of happy ending, or is actual full
happy ending? But some of them will have sex with you.
And are these and what kinds of, how do you know that you're going to that kind of place? And there's somebody with a badge who's going to walk in right after.
Man, you take a lot on faith and you just hope and pray that a badge doesn't walk in.
Is there a website that gives you sort of?
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of, you can just sort of tell. Like if you go to a place and it just says massage and there's blackout curtains and that sort of stuff, you're like, oh,
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I'd walk in and I'd go on the table, and instead of putting the towel on, I would just be naked, and that would be like
you
wouldn't have to say any words, so it's not like, you know what I mean? If they don't want to do that, they're like, oh, sorry, put the towel on. You put the towel on. You're like, okay, this is just a regular massage.
I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, you still get the massage. Massage.
And if you're there naked without the towel, who taught you about the towel thing? Is it something you figured out?
It's something, you know what? I Reddit.
See,
and just ask Reddit some stuff and they'll answer.
And so this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so if you are sitting there without the towel, do they still massage, or they just get right down to business, get you out of there?
They massage, but I will say the trade-off is the massage part isn't as good.
It's short.
Yeah, because you're sort of like, because you are paying for the massage and then you're paying for the extra. So like I always was like, man, I wish the massage part of this was better.
And do you do they ask you what sexual thing you want, or they just do whatever they offer?
No, they ask you what sexual thing you want, because it's like almost like a menu where it's like, well, this certain thing costs more, this costs more, this costs more.
And do you get to choose who your masseuse is, kind of thing, or?
If you go to a certain place a bunch and they know you, yes. Yeah, at a certain point there was one near my house where I'd be like, oh, Vanessa, and she'd be like, hey, who do you know? And she'd yeah.
Oh my God, this is I feel like I'm peeking into a parallel universe or something. It's so interesting to me. And then do you tip them, or is it just whatever the money is that they charge?
They're not charging for the sexual thing, right?
There's no like receipt.
No, there's no receipt. And that's sort of the get around. It's like, hey, you're 2 consensual adults doing this, and then the tip is what they suggest. But the tip is what you're really paying
and do
for.
They suggest before the whole thing?
Yes, they tell you, oh, it'll be a tip of 120 or something like that.
It's such a crazy thing to me. And do you ever like befriend some of these women? You said Vanessa is your friend.
Yeah, like no, you become friendly with them sometimes.
And are they?
Like they would just ask me like how my day was. One of the couple of them came out to a comedy show once. You know what I mean? Like they.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They're shout out to my prostitutes in the front row.
Yeah.
It's like, shout out to my. How was I last night? Anything cool?
Almost very much like therapy in a weird way.
And do you ever start to feel bad for them and the work they have to do, or they ever they're always, of course, trauma survivors and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, you sort of like when when you first start going for it, it's for the sexual release, right? And then you sort of think like, oh man, this is probably like there's so many bad things around this.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like,
is it bad for your soul?
Yeah, you sort of feel it, but in your early 20s, you're like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
You got to do something.
Yeah, and
it's interesting. I wonder if a lot of millennials are doing that because there's a definite sort of move away from relationships.
Yeah, maybe. For me, it was just like I never had trouble like talking to women. But I had trouble like
in relationships
closing and creating relationships.
Well, but I would argue that some of that closing problems and relationship problems is how crazy male-female relationships have become for you guys.
Right.
It's a lot of work. It's scary. You could be accused of sort of all kinds of things.
And that was the beauty of this. There was no room.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a transaction. There's no accusations.
That's why I think millennials sort of go. I always thought maybe it was porn but maybe there's prostitution that's taken over, because it is to women's detriment to treat men so shitty.
Yeah.
To make it so difficult. We're not very good at relationships naturally.
No.
And so if you make it difficult, we're fucked. We're just like, oh.
Yeah, and the overall thing I got from it is like this. I did think like this should probably be legal.
Prostitution.
Yes, this should probably be legal. That's what I got from it, because it's like, I don't know. It does have like, I will say this I was never like an incel, but definitely someone who was incel adjacent. I'll say that. A lot of time on the internet and stuff like that. It's like, sort of, and coming from a kind of religious family, like a Muslim family, like sex is like this big sort of deal, and you know what I mean? And then you sort of go and it's like, oh, it's just a natural human function. You don't have to put this much weight on it. You know what I mean? That it's like, it's not what you make it out in your head to be when you're not getting it, and then like the internet's putting its
stuff
voodoo on you.